Okay, this is Roberta House Kelly, and the date is April the 12th, 1994. And she's going to reminisce about Heath High School and its history and anything about her life as a student or a young woman. And Heath. Just go ahead. Just start with whatever you want to.
Well, I don't know if there's something, I don't know what that is. I save a lot of stuff. And here's something, I don't know what this is. Oh, this is just for toward the old building down.
Yes.
You can keep that if you want to.
Okay, well thank you.
And they usually have the alumni banquet. They usually have a small history in here of the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't have that any longer, so that's what I'd like. That's what I'm going to try to piece together, and I want your help in doing that.
Well,
okay.
We well, at first I knew about it. Our neighbors sold their farm and moved to Heath because they had children. There was 5 of them, that would be going to school, and they moved to Heath. Then we began to think about it, and we used to have to take examination, go to Yuba and take examination to get into high school. The superintendent, county superintendent, used to give these examinations, and that was a 2-day thing for us. Well, I passed the examination. That was in 1913, and where we lived, there didn't seem to be any way I could ever get to school.
Now you lived where?
It was, you know where Nell lives?
Yes, New Liberty Church Road.
Did you show her where the home place was?
A mile north of New Liberty.
Okay.
And so I didn't get to go or start to school, and I went back to grade school, and actually I had been through those books so much that the teacher would assign something, I'd look to see what it was, and I didn't have to even look at it. And I could work all the problems in the arithmetic, and when I had to go back to school again that year, one day I said to my mother, I don't intend to go back to Hickory Grove another single day and after this year. She says, well, I guess there's not any use. And some way or other, I don't know how, they got, I know one girl in the neighborhood named Viola Harper.
Yes, I know Viola. I knew her.
Yes. And so our fathers got together, and they decided that 2 of us could go. Where one girl, I lived further than, as far as I know, anyhow west of the school.
You boarded 1 year, though. Tell about the boarding.
About the one?
You boarded 1 year.
Well, yes, but I was going to. Anyway, they just didn't think that my folks didn't. They just didn't think a girl could drive that far to school. Now, some of them did drive, and so it got down to cases, and either I didn't go to school or else. So they made arrangements for me to board the Taps, who had the people who had left our neighborhood and moved a few years before, the ones I'm speaking of first.
The Taps.
Yes. And so I went there and boarded a year. The next year, Viola Harper got ready for school, and they decided that the 2 fathers decided that 2 of us could go together better than where one was too far really for one. And so I was to drive 1 week, and she was to drive 1 week.
Now, what did you drive?
We drove a horse, of course, and our old buggy horse. He was old and he wasn't too free a traveler. And the weeks that I had to drive to that she drove, I had to walk to New Liberty Church from where we lived. It was a good mile up there, and in the wintertime it wasn't quite daylight when I would go to meet her. And but anyway, she was such a wild driver that she wasn't but 13 years old, and she'd do such crazy things. I'd say, Viola, don't do that. Oh, you ought to see Papa make her go. That was the gray horse that she was driving, and she did get everything out of her she could. And one day we were about a mile from Heath, and she followed a load of hay, and she started to go around that load of hay, and I looked, and she made the horse speed up, and just as she got around, I saw a mailbox sitting out in the road, and was right ready to hit me in the face. And she stopped the horse the whole time, and a few more things like that. And her mother decided she just didn't know what to do sometimes. If we were 5 minutes late, she knew we were dead in a ditch someplace. And
because of Viola's driving.
yeah.
Well, now Viola, that's Viola Smedley, isn't it? Yes.
And so after 7 months, I guess her mother had just more than she could take, and they decided to move down to the center and Viola go to high school. So it let me go to school by myself. And I drove the rest of that year alone. And then the next year, so if I got to go back the third year, if I wanted to get to school, I had to drive. Well, I'd done it for 3 months before, maybe 4 months before. And I didn't think much about I really didn't think anything about it. You just went to school. And the roads weren't like that. They weren't paved, though. And it was a mud road from our house to the church. But we got on the gravel then, and it was rough. And it wasn't really a good road. But anyway, I drove the rest of that year, and then the next year. And I don't know, I went through the year. And one thing about people I don't think there was any place between home and Heath schoolhouse that the horse that couldn't have traveled, that I couldn't have just stopped their house and stayed all night. There was one, Miss Fanny Wood, that lived up there, well, kind of out of Grimble. And she always insisted I come down, and she had a good place for my horse. And, well, it never was so I could, when I get started home, I'd just go home. I just didn't feel like stopping off anywhere. And then getting back to Viola, though, one thing that's always been amusing, the girls from Grimble, the Graham girls, drove a Shetland pony, and they had this little buggy, and they used to be hanging on it and everything else, just that mile from the Heath over to Grimble. And they thought it was a great fun to get in front of us and make Viola slow down, and that would let us get by. But anyway, I'm not doing that very good.